I actually cried. I didn't expect to cry in a Terrifier movie. Hello everyone, my name is Katie and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I am reviewing Terrifier 3. Now hear me out, I am the biggest fan of this franchise. I'm not kidding, I am a diehard. When the second film came out, I made my entire life about it, and it's so weird how fast time flies by. I can't believe it's been 2 years since the second one came out. But anyways, it's just been one of my favorite things for so long now. I waited so long for this film. I'm so excited. I finally saw it last night and I have to talk about it. I have to talk about my feelings. Believe it or not, I do have some criticisms. I'm not going to be an entire meat writer in this review. Like, there are some things I think need to be talked about that weren't the best. But man, it's good. Let's get into it. I'm so excited. And keep in mind, this is going to be a spoiler review. Like, I'm going to go straight into the spoilers in this one because I just want to talk about everything. Don't want to have anything held back. So if you haven't seen this yet, please do not spoil it and watch this video. Go watch the movie, then come back here. P.S. Sorry my room is a mess. There's a lot of renovating and changing going on, so everything's all over the place. But anyways, let's talk about that opening scene. Alright, so the opening scene was kind of like the first thing we had teased to us. If you guys remember, that was like the first trailer that came out. It was showing Art dressed up as Santa Claus, and then the little girl comes and finds him downstairs, and we knew it was going to end badly, right? So they did stick with that original opening scene, and it was brutal. It was a great way to set the stage, set the tone of the film. It was kind of insane. The first kill in the movie is a little boy, and I want to talk about this a lot in this review. I think the way that they handled the kills with the children was actually really smart, as tasteful as you can get, I guess, with the subject matter. Like in this one, they don't show it on screen, you just hear it, and it's actually really shocking because you're thinking when it's about to happen, when Art walks into his room, you're like, no, he's not gonna actually do it. Something else is gonna happen, right? But then it's Terrifier, so I was literally like expecting it to happen. It was a weird reverse psychology thing. I was like, will he or won't he? I was hiding my eyes, but I heard that chop and I was like, oh my god, so this is how this movie's gonna be. It begins. It's happening. So yeah, the brutality of that and that first scene with that family really set the tone. And then I liked how after that they went back 5 years and showed what happened straight after the ending of Terrifier 2 in the Terrifier haunted house thing, whatever you call that. I like how it showed Art with his headless body, and it showed how he got back to his head with Victoria in the hospital when she like became possessed by this demon and all of that. Speaking of demons, I feel like this movie helped us confirm a lot of our like lore theories that we had and stuff we kind of figured out in the second film but weren't for sure about. But anyways, I like that they showed how the second one, like how everything happened straight after that, how Art and Vicky went to this abandoned house and like camped out and like shut down and hibernated for 5 years, which I find really interesting. I think we're going to learn a little bit more details about why they did that. Maybe they answered some of those questions in this movie. That's one of my criticisms we'll talk about, is I do have some questions that I think were answered in this film, but the way that it was written in the dialogue is a little confusing. So maybe they did answer why, but I don't understand why Vicky and Art were like in hibernation mode, you know, in sleep mode for those 5 years. I don't know. Maybe they were like healing something. I don't know. Anyways, I thought that was cool that they showed what happened to Art the 5 years. Like, we know now that he wasn't out and about after Sienna chopped his head off and all of that stuff. And we kind of got to see the beginning of Vicky and Art when they first teamed up and started taking down people like those police officers, which was a really great scene. I thought the police officer kill, the one where he like tears the dude's face off, that one hasn't been talked about much yet online for some reason. Everything's always about that shower scene. But that first police scene was like really brutal. And that's the first time in the movie I think that I was like, oh my gosh. And then while all that is happening, Vicky is using the glass shard to, you know, like a rose toy. Someone get this girl a rose toy, okay? I cannot believe that happened. Well, I'm all over the place. This movie, I gotta rewatch this thing because I'm recollecting it all right now. I'm like, what happened in this film? This is only in the first like 20 minutes. This is crazy. Anyways, okay, so now we get to Sienna, and Sienna is really my favorite part of this franchise, believe it or not. I love Art. He's kind of like the star, but I connected a lot with Sienna in the second film. She became my favorite final girl of all time. I dressed up for her as Halloween last year. absolutely love Lauren Lavera and Sienna Shaw, and I was so interested to see what happened to her character after the events of the second film. I was like, is she gonna go on and move on, become some boss babe, you know? Like, I was wondering if she was gonna be like really strong and move on with her life, and then Art was gonna come back at the worst time, or if she was gonna be this like anxiety ridden person who has like the trauma and the PTSD of it all. And it was the second, it was the latter of those. She was like in and out of a psychiatric hospital for the past 5 years, and Art and this demon or whatever had been sending her visions and making her feel crazy, and people probably thought it was just signs of trauma, but ended up being a lot worse. And I think Lauren Lavera did a great job actually playing and portraying and acting what it's really like when you have like schizophrenia or just psychotic episodes and things like that. She did a great job just displaying the anxiety of PTSD and everything else. She's an incredible actress. I think Lauren Lavera really stepped it up in this one. She was all right in the second one, especially in like the final third act. But in this one, she slayed the whole way through. Like, amazing. I watched her recently in The Well, which was actually a pretty good film, not talked about a lot. She did great in that, so I watched that and was like, I hope she's this good in Terrifier 3, and I was pleasantly surprised. She killed it, knocked it out of the park. It is actually interesting, they filmed Terrifier 2 so long ago, so you gotta think, Sienna had so many, Lauren Lavera, she had so many years to improve her acting and learn. I think she was like 24 or 25 when they filmed the second one, and she was like 29 this time. So that's a lot of growth, a lot of time to learn. So that definitely showed in her performance here. So yeah, Sienna is like in and out of the psychiatric hospital. I was a little confused. She says in the film she was in and out over the years, but I was like, how long was she in there? Like, was she ever living a normal life outside? I can't really tell. I guess it's not really that relevant, but I just love these characters so much and feel like they're real people. I'm like cheering for them and wanting them to do well. And I gotta say, I was a little disappointed that Sienna wasn't doing good. For some reason, I was just like cheering for my girl, but it's very realistic. Like, you probably wouldn't just be able to move on. I mean, especially her. She was like actually being haunted by the demons and stuff. It wasn't just like in her head. But anyways, yeah, it made me like sad. I think the actors are really good because they can make me feel that way. I was sad that Jonathan and Sienna weren't necessarily as close anymore. Oh my gosh, it's so it's heartbreaking to me. We got to talk about Jonathan so much today. But I was sad to see that they weren't quite as close. He had kind of tried to move on with his life. He's in college now. You know, he thinks Sienna is like crazy because he's not seeing the same visions and all of that. So he's like thinking she's having all these crazy problems. It seems like he's distancing himself from her a little bit. So that actually broke my heart to see that. I loved the whole like brother sister thing we had going on in the second film. That was one of my favorite aspects of that film. I love Jonathan. I love Elliot Fulham. Honestly, watching him is so weird because I've watched him a lot on YouTube in real life, and over the years I've watched him grow up, and it kind of feels like seeing your little brother going through something. I don't know. So like watching him, oh my gosh, it broke my heart just seeing the struggles he was going through. The part where he tears like his dorm room apart totally broke me. I felt it so much. I think his acting was better in this one. We'll talk about this too, but I feel like he wasn't in this film enough for my liking. I was really hoping for like this badass brother-sister team up against Art the Clown. I guess that's what we got at the end of the second one. But I don't know, like I wanted to see more of him. I feel like he wasn't really in this one a lot. In a way, I kind of expected the roles to be reversed. I kind of expected Jonathan to be the one that couldn't move on and wasn't strong enough, and Sienna would be like the stronger older sister that helped them get through it all. So I actually kind of liked that they flipped what I expected. Sienna was the one struggling. Jonathan was the stronger, more level-headed one. That was interesting to see. And speaking of Sienna's visions, the scene with Brooke was so good. I forget the name of the girl that plays Brooke. I think it's Casey. I'll put it here. She's great. She was one of the best actors in Terrifier 2. And I was so glad they brought her back for this moment. And it worked so well with how these like psychotic episodes really affect you. It made you feel crazy. And it was like a jump scare when she smacks the table, you know. And we had the practical effects once again of like her face bubbling up like in the last one. Oh my gosh, it was so good. loved that. Loved Lauren's performance in that one as well. So now I want to talk about one of my favorite scenes in this entire film, and it's when Sienna is at the mall and she sees Art the Clown walk by again for the first time in 5 years. You know, we don't see his face. He has the mask on. He's dressed as Santa Claus. You know it's him from his mannerisms. She knows it's him as soon as she lays eyes on him. I love Lauren's acting in this. It felt so real. You could see it in the eyes that she was just like petrified, terrified, if you will. And that was just iconic. I just love that. It's kind of like the Laurie and Michael thing when they see each other again. It's like this big dramatic thing. Oh my gosh, they nailed that part. That was the perfect way for her to see him again for the first time in 5 years. And then the mall scene is absolutely crazy. It was kind of funny in a messed up way whenever the kid's like, oh gee, I wonder what I got. And they open the box and it's, that was crazy. I can't believe they did that. I think that's the first B-O-M-B that Art the Clown has ever used, right? Am I wrong? I think that's the case. But that scene was unexpected. I didn't expect all of that to happen. That was kind of like our clown cafe part of this film. You know, it kind of reminded me of those vibes with the kids opening presents and everything. That was genius. So glad they did that. Like I said, they were as tasteful as you can be when it comes to this topic with that. They showed some gore and stuff, but it wasn't to the point where I feel like it was super distasteful. It was the best they could do for the situation they were trying to portray. So I thought it was tasteful-ish. I feel like Terrifier and tasteful don't really go hand in hand, but there are some boundaries that they never cross. Like they say they won't ever show SA, or I swear I think they do try to dial it back a little bit with how much of the gore and the practical effects they show when it comes to kids. So now we got to talk about the Santa Claus scene when Art is at the bar with these other Santa Clauses, and that was my favorite of all of Art's mannerisms in this film. I think that was the funniest moments where I laughed a lot when he's interacting with those guys, and then the kill that leads up to with the like freezing of the legs. Is it like a fire extinguisher, liquid nitrogen, something like that? He's freezing the dude's like skin, ice picking them. He turns them into a snowman with the carrot on the face. Like, what? That was crazy. They got so creative with the practical effects and the kills in this one. I think they definitely topped everything when it comes to that category versus the second one. Like the third one has so much more creativity. And you know how every movie up to this point has had that scene? We have the hacksaw scene in the first one, the bedroom scene in the second one. This one, it might be the shower scene, but I feel like there's so many different scenes that could be that scene this time around, and I love that. They gave us so much to work with. And like I said, Art was so funny in this one, especially in that scene, and I feel like they did a good job balancing the humor and how funny it was. It wasn't so hilarious that you can't feel any of the fear of the protagonists or anything like that. They did a good job balancing it. It doesn't feel like a straight up comedy. I don't even really consider Terrifier a horror comedy in a weird way. It's funny in a sense. Everyone loves Art, but something about it, like they do a good job making it feel actually still a little scarier. It's not just a laugh fest the whole time. And we got to talk about Vicky. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad they've made Victoria Hayes into like a long running character. She's really the first person you see in the entire franchise on that TV interview. And I love that they've kept her all this time. And in this one, a demon is using her as a vessel to have the fun that it wants to have. I don't know. She was so depraved and wicked in this movie. Oh my gosh. I love that we have a villain that can talk now, because I love that Art is like a silent mime character and he doesn't speak. But it is nice for once to hear a character that actually does talk and says all these messed up things and really gets under the protagonist's skin. You know, we've kind of been lacking that a little bit. So it was nice to have that. I don't really want Art the Clown to ever talk. I feel like that would completely ruin everything. The silent mime gimmick is so perfect. Don't get rid of that. But I like that we had Vicky to kind of fill in that role this time. And am I crazy for kind of shipping it? Whenever they were on that bus on the way home and there was a guy dressed as Art the Clown, or the Miles County Clown, I should say. When they saw that guy in that scene, I was looking at them together. I was like, I ship it. So yes, Vicky is great. We'll talk about the final act in a moment, but first I wanted to talk about Sienna and Jonathan's dad. So we learned in the last film that he's an artist and he draws these pictures, and he had drawn Sienna dressed up in her Valkyrie armor with her sword. He made the sword for her, supposedly. And in this one, we actually get to see the scenes of Sienna and her dad when she was a kid. And I feel like that makes him feel a little bit more real, less mysterious. Up to this point, I thought he might be Art the Clown. I thought maybe Art was Sienna's dad who like worked as a mime or something before, and then he was killed and then turned into a demon. I don't know. That was kind of my theory, but I wasn't sure. But this time it was nice to actually see Sienna's dad, put a face with who he is, and it showed us the scene of him handing her the art of her in the Valkyrie costume, and they have like this weird vision moment. He's like seeing the future of Sienna in the clown cafe and the water tank, all of that from the second film. That was really cool. I will say one criticism that I have is I feel like they didn't answer enough questions in this film. If anything, they kind of used the same questions from the second film and just expanded on them a little bit, but didn't really answer them. They didn't really introduce that much new stuff. They kind of just talked about things we already knew and just showed a little bit more of it. Like, we knew that Sienna and Jonathan's dad went crazy before. We knew, obviously, we could put the pieces together that he had some sort of prophecy he knew was going to happen with Sienna and fighting Art, you know, the picture of her holding his head. So I feel like them showing us when he had the vision, that's something we could have seen in the second film, honestly. I don't know, I just feel like it's a little out of order with the writing and stuff, but it's not so bad that it ruins anything. I will say I left this film with a lot of questions that I wanted to be answered this time around. I feel like we're moving a little slow on answering the questions. Like the demon thing, I'm still a little bit confused about it. I think we'll just talk about the ending for a second. The whole thing with Art, I think he's supposed to be like powerless at the end after Vicky dies. He doesn't have that power from her anymore, so he's like all human now. Doesn't have the healing abilities and stuff. I'm just confused about how that works. Why he needs someone else, like a demon, to give him the power. Like, is Art the Clown just a human that was using demon power? Was he ever possessed with a demon himself? I don't know. A lot of those things are just like, I can't tell what they were trying to say. Maybe they explained it and I didn't really get it. But of course that's what the fourth one's going to be all about. Let's be real. It's going to be all about Sienna going to find Gabby. We need to talk about the final scene first. That final act was messed up, okay? So first of all, it made me sad to see Sienna getting like tied up and her hands getting smashed and all of that. I was like, girl, please get up, girl. I was so worried about my girl. And then the skull reveal, they say this is Gabby's skull. Gabby is Sienna's little cousin that she bonds with throughout the film. When they show that in front of the mother and Sienna, that was brutal. And then it gets to the part where they have the rats going down the mom's tube, down her throat. It's very like Too Fast, Too Furious, where they get the rats to eat the guy's stomach out. It was like that, but it was through her throat. Disgusting. Disgusting. That was probably the worst for me. That's like the most queasy I got the whole time watching it. That one, I couldn't even enjoy the campiness or the weirdness of it because it was just so gross. I think that's the one that David Howard Thornton said that he like almost threw up filming. Like he couldn't handle it. It was really, really gross. But then we have that. We have Vicky just like stirring up crap, talking smack to my girl Sienna. And I kind of liked that. Like I said, that back and forth between the protagonist and antagonist. Some like shit talking, you know what I mean? I really enjoyed that. Samantha Scafidi is amazing in this film. And then the most messed up part of this whole movie, oh my gosh, is the big plot twist, the big reveal that the skull wasn't even Gabby. It was Jonathan. They put the glasses on the skull and they're like, this is actually Jonathan. Dude, that broke me. Okay, like I said, I'm so attached to that character. I love Elliot Fulham too, feels like my little brother, so that just broke my heart. I felt like Sienna in that moment. I feel like I just saw my little brother and his skull. Oh my gosh, it was horrible. I actually cried. I didn't expect to cry in a Terrifier movie, but I cried in that moment. And I'm really sad because we didn't even get to see anything. I feel like he was barely in this film. Just the parts in college where he's like telling Sienna, you're crazy girl, go home, take your meds, you know. I feel like we didn't really get to see him enough. That made me so sad. And then now it's like, I don't think this is a fake out. I think this is actually real. I think he actually is dead. So he's not going to be in the fourth one. Maybe they'll bring him back as like a ghost to haunt Sienna, kind of like the Brooke thing. Or maybe he's not even dead and they were just completely messing with her. I don't know. They were yanking her chain. But either way, that broke my heart. And then this whole final act was just pretty cool. Like the fight with Sienna and Art was great. The Crown of Thorns was insane. That was very like symbolic when the portal to hell opened up and Gabby is like falling in and Sienna's holding the sword and it's like slicing up her hands as she's trying to pull it up to pick up Gabby. That is so symbolic of how much Sienna tries to save her little brother, now her little cousin. She just puts herself on the line. She just wants to save them. Like that, brutal, beautifully brutal. Oh man, it messed with me so bad. See, I'm getting like messed up here. It messed with me so bad when Gabby actually like got swallowed up. It was kind of giving like Evil Dead, you know? That's the thing, like Vicky kind of reminded me of the Deadites, how she like melted into the floor and then this portal to hell and all this stuff. It was very much giving like Army of Darkness. I don't know. And Sienna also had sort of a Mia from Evil Dead 2013 vibe. She was like crazy. People thought she was like just seeing things from her trauma and stuff, but she was actually like being haunted, and she was right about everything that was about to happen, but nobody believed her. Very much Mia vibes. Loved that. So yeah, we get to see some Sienna with her sword action, you know. She like stabs Art into the wall and he's like really injured and everything. That's when Gabby gets swallowed up. And then Sienna turns around and Art's gone. So he escaped. Victoria is dead. So his sort of like muse, you know, his source of power is gone. So it shows him going to this bus stop and he's supposedly powerless now. He's kind of just like mortal. He's just a human. That was a really cool callback to the original short film starring Art the Clown called The Ninth Circle. So I'm glad that they're still kind of incorporating that original vision into this. I hope the fourth movie is kind of about like the 9 circles of hell and it has all these demons and stuff. That's definitely where we're going. I think Sienna now, you know, at the end she's saying, I will find you, Gabby. You know, obviously the fourth one is going to be all about her somehow trying to find out how to get to hell or whatever it was to save Gabby. And maybe Jonathan too. Maybe he's down there. Probably not, but I don't know. But that's definitely what the fourth one's going to be about. But like I said, I loved that callback, and I think it's going to be interesting. Art, for the first time, is going to be like afraid more than ever. He's been very like reckless and relentless, you know, the past few films, because he has powers, he can heal, you know, he always comes back to life, and now it's like completely vulnerable for him. So I'm very interested to see how he's going to act in this next film and what the final battle between him and Sienna will be like. I do truly think the next movie is going to be the last one with Sienna and Art. You know, Art the Clown might become a thing where they make like multiple trilogies and stuff with him, with his character. But I think the fourth one might be the ending for Sienna Shaw. I think that's where we're going to get like that final battle. I really hope in the next one they go like all into the fantasy aspect of it. It's just going to be hard for them to do without some sort of like fantasy, a little bit of sci-fi action going on. I can't wait to see what they do with that. I want to see Valkyrie Sienna again. One of my criticisms, that's not really a criticism I guess, is that I wanted more badass Sienna in this movie, but I understand why they didn't. You know, it obviously fits with everything that happened in the second one. She's going through a lot, and like the whole point was Vicky and Art were trying to make her as weak as possible. You know, the demon that was in Vicky wanted to like take over Sienna. So it makes sense that she's like super vulnerable and barely holding on in this one. But I cannot wait to see like badass Valkyrie Sienna in the next film. And it shows that blacksmith like making her sword and armor and stuff, and that vision she has. I wonder if in the next film she's gonna have like an actual like forged from the gods like armor outfit. You know, in the second one it's her cosplay that she made for Halloween. I hope that in this one she has like really like the real deal, and it's like it's gonna be so cool. I'm such a Sienna fangirl. So yeah, some of my gripes with it is I felt like it was a little bit repetitive story wise, but other than that I don't really have much to complain about. I will say this one was like, it had a quicker pace in the editing. It was more like Hollywood style editing, like they wanted to have it a little bit shorter. I think it was under 2 hours this time. A lot of people like that. A lot of people want a movie to be like to the point, don't drag it on, don't have the super slow scenes. I actually liked the pace of the second one. It was actually pretty long, but I feel like I enjoy the slow pace. It gives me time to understand the characters, feel like I'm really like there. In a way, it doesn't feel like so much that you're watching a movie. I feel like I'm with the characters when there's not the constant cuts back and forth between characters when they're talking. You know, it's not as fast. This one, the third one, was a lot quicker, which is obviously going to make more sense and work better for like the mainstream. You know, more people are going to like that. So that was the smart move on Damien Leone's half. But for me, I kind of missed that like lower budget feel of the second one. I have no idea why. I didn't expect that. But the quality of this one was really nice. They definitely had a higher budget and it was very well done, very professional, and objectively it was amazing. I just have a certain taste, but I don't think they went too far into the Hollywood territory in this one like I was worried about. You know, Damien turned down offers from Hollywood studios and stuff so he could do certain scenes without any regulations or rules. You know, he wanted to be able to push as far as he could, and you can't really do that working with a production company, so I'm glad that he kept it independent. He made it a little bit more digestible to a bigger audience. Digestible, I don't know. Depends if you like gore. But you guys know what I mean. It was just a little more polished. My favorite things about this film were the creative kills, the practical effects. Of course, I had some favorite scenes. Like I said, the Santa snowman scene, Sienna seeing Art for the first time, and also that part where that couple is talking in that college dorm and the girl's like, I don't want to fuck him. And Art the Clown's like, whatever, girl, you know. He seems like offended by it. That was one of the funniest moments in the film. But yeah, overall, just I would rate this one like a 9 out of 10. For me, Terrifier 2 was like a 9.5 out of 10. Right now, the third one is a 9. I don't know if I keep rewatching it, if it's going to have a higher score or lower. I really need to rewatch it though, because I feel like there was just so much going on. I think I'm going to like it more and more every single time that I watch it. I think that might be what happened to me last time with the second film. The more I watched it, the more I became like a diehard. So I think that might be what happens this time. I already can't wait for Terrifier 4. I have no idea when that's coming, but I hope it's not more than like 2 years, because man, I want more answers. I want more action. But anyways, let me know in the comments below what you thought of Terrifier 3. And this franchise is just so much fun. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe for more. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!